So in 2012 is when my awakening, quote unquote, started, right? I was still in church. I was playing in the praise and worship. I was teaching the youth. And I read these 3 books. The one was called Weird. The second one was Jesus Freak. And the third was called Radical for Christ. I'm not really sure that those 3 titles. I'll put the books up just so you know what I'm talking about. But that's what started I didn't know this was going to happen. I just wanted to be a better Christian and serve Jesus Christ better at the time. But little did I know that was going to be my jump start to this awakening. So I started asking more questions like, why can't we join with other churches, like because we were in the youth, why can't we join with other churches and just, if we all Christians, why can't we just get radical for Christ? Get out here, go in these neighborhoods and just combine churches together and really do this thing. Bang on the neighborhood, help the neighborhood out. Be a light to this dark world. They're like, nah, we can't do that. We got to get permission by the pastors. You know, certain pastors don't like that because of such and such. Mainly because a lot of times you'll take away their customers, meaning the people that go to their church. You might take away those people. So I'm like, it's not making sense, right? And so these are the qualities of Christ that I was starting to cling to. Christ went up to the what? He went to the temple, started kicking over the business tables, people trying to make money in the church, right? Question that too. That, of course, that's not a good question to ask when you're in the church business. So another thing, it's like, well, Christ didn't have a place to lay his head. So why does it seem like the pastors they have more money than we do? They live in better communities than we do. They live in a better home than we do. Wasn't making sense to me. So needless to say, this was like the beginning of 2012. In the mid 2012 is when I left the church. Decided to leave the church business. And so I think about that, and I just hear Christians, Christ followers talking today about Christ. Oh, we gotta do this for Christ, that for Christ. Yet if Christ, the Jesus Christ that you read in your New Testament, if he was walking around today, how many people would actually follow him? How many people would look at a homeless Christ, radical Christ, going into temples, kicking over tables, no home, and wearing sandals, a big old beard, and say, man, I'm gonna follow this guy. I'm gonna die for this guy. How many followers do you really think he would have? And especially in this day and time, where everything is about successful and businesses and having money. And I'm talking mainly in the Christian church, or any church, so to speak. So I just sit back and I listen and I just watch. And I didn't even want to do this video, but this is my testimony. This is part of my journey. This is part of my growth. And I question so many things and so many people's motives, because that was me. Before I read those books, and I had no idea, like I said, before I read these books, I had no idea I was going to come into this way of thinking, this perspective. I was that person. I wanted to have a church. I wanted to be a preacher and a pastor, help the youth. And I still want to help youth, and I'm doing it in my own way now. And it's funny because I even get people trying to give me money through my Instagram because of the stuff that I post. And I just sit back and I'm like, wow, man, that's how distorted our minds are, that we want to pay people. We think we should pay people that are giving us, that are just trying to help us, trying to give us gems, knowledge, whatever, experience, perspective, a different perspective. or just being real. And that's because most people that are quote unquote in this conscious community or religion are doing everything for $1 in the name of being blessed, or in the name of, well, I can't do the normal 9 to 5, so how else am I gonna live? How else am I gonna eat and feed my family? I need from the church. Anyway, man, that's my little rant. But man, things haven't changed, man. Since the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, 2010, now we're in 2020. I've seen no change, especially in the freaking Christian church, in the business of church. Do you know if we, from the 80s, let's start from the 80s, do you know if we, whether you call yourself religious, Christian, Christ-like follower, whatever you want to call yourself, non-denominational, if we had all, instead of giving it to church buildings, if we all created communities, shared our money, shared our wealth with one another, invested in one another, really invested in our minds to really do something with money that is not worth nothing, but use it as a tool, a true tool, buying land, growing our own food, having true hospitals that really don't medicate us, don't put us on drugs, but truly seek to heal people. Teaching diet, true diet. Come on, man. I mean,